Imagine waking up tomorrow morning. No phone, no electricity, no internet, no air conditioning. But outside your window, enormous pyramids are rising into the sky. Thousands of people are working along the banks of the Nile River. And here's the most surprising part. If you upset the wrong person, your entire life could change in an instant. So what was it really like to live in ancient Egypt? Was it as magical as the movies make it seem? Or would it make us appreciate modern life even more? Today, we're traveling back nearly 4,000 years to compare ancient Egypt with the modern world. Let's begin. The sun hasn't even risen yet, and you're already awake. Instead of an alarm clock, you hear roosters, birds, and the sounds of people gathering near the Nile. Why? Because work starts before the heat of the day arrives. Now compare that to today. Most of us hit the snooze button several times, then spend 20 or 30 minutes scrolling through our phones before even getting out of bed. In ancient Egypt, that kind of luxury simply didn't exist. For many people, wasting time could mean going hungry. Now let's talk about breakfast. Today, we might enjoy eggs, toast, coffee, fruit, or cereal. In ancient Egypt, an ordinary breakfast was much simpler. Bread, onions, garlic, and beer. Yes, beer. But not the kind you're thinking of. Egyptian beer contained much less alcohol than modern beer, and was often thick and nutritious. It was considered a basic food, and even children sometimes drank diluted versions, because clean drinking water wasn't always available. Now it's time to go to work. Today we drive cars, ride buses, or even work from home using laptops. In ancient Egypt, most people were farmers. They spent long hours working the fields, and their entire year depended on the flooding of the Nile. If the river flooded properly, crops would grow. If it didn't, famine could follow. Now let's answer one of history's biggest questions. Who really built the pyramids? Many people still believe they were built by slaves, but archaeological discoveries tell a different story. Evidence suggests that many pyramid builders were skilled workers who received food, housing, and payment for their labor. The work was incredibly difficult. But Hollywood's image of endless lines of chained slaves isn't completely accurate. Now let's visit the doctor. Today, if you have a headache, you simply visit a pharmacy or take medicine at home. Ancient Egyptian doctors were surprisingly advanced for their time. They could set broken bones, treat wounds, perform simple surgeries, and even practiced early forms of dentistry. However, there was one major problem. No antibiotics. A small infection that would be easily cured today could become deadly thousands of years ago. Despite this, Egyptians cared a lot about cleanliness. They bathed regularly, shaved body hair, used scented oils, and paid close attention to personal hygiene. Now let's have some fun. Today we stream movies, play video games, and scroll endlessly through social media. Ancient Egyptians had music, dancing, storytelling, festivals, and board games. One of their favorite games was called Senet. Many historians believe it wasn't just entertainment. It may have symbolized the journey into the afterlife. Speaking of social media, they didn't have Instagram, but they definitely had gossip. In small villages, everyone knew everyone else's business. News spread from person to person in marketplaces long before the internet ever existed. Now let's look at something even more valuable: knowledge. Today, nearly all the world's information fits inside the phone in your pocket. In ancient Egypt, only a small percentage of people could read and write. Scribes were among the most respected people in society. They recorded taxes, wrote official documents, kept government records, and documented the pharaoh's orders. Back then, writing on papyrus was one of the most prestigious careers imaginable. What about their homes? Today, we live in concrete buildings with electricity, plumbing, and heating. Most ordinary Egyptians lived in houses made from mud bricks. These homes stayed surprisingly cool during the hot summer months. Meanwhile, temples and royal buildings were constructed from massive stone blocks. That's one reason many of them still stand today. Now let's talk about one of ancient Egypt's favorite animals, cats. Today, cats dominate the internet. In ancient Egypt, they were practically celebrities. Cats protected grain supplies by hunting rats and snakes, making them incredibly valuable. Many families deeply loved their cats. Some were even mummified after death. Yes, cats could receive mummification just like humans. And speaking of mummies, movies often make it seem like every Egyptian became one. The truth is quite different. The most elaborate mummification process was expensive and mainly reserved for wealthy families and royalty. Ordinary people usually received much simpler burials. Why? Because Egyptians believed death wasn't the end. It was the beginning of another life. That's why tombs were filled with clothing, jewelry, food, furniture, and personal belongings. They believed these items would be useful in the next world. Now think about everything you've just seen. No electricity, no internet, no smartphones, no cars. Yet you're living in one of the greatest civilizations in human history. Every morning, you wake beside the Nile. You watch gigantic pyramids being built. And you're part of a civilization whose achievements still amaze the world, thousands of years later. So, which life would you choose? The comfort of the modern world, or the mystery and adventure of ancient Egypt? Maybe the past wasn't as primitive as we imagine. Maybe many of the ideas that shaped our world today first began along the banks of the Nile thousands of years ago. Now it's your turn. If you had a time machine and could spend just 1 week in ancient Egypt, would you go? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more fascinating comparisons between ancient civilizations and modern life.